All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our May main event. As Phyllis said in the chat, happy you're here with us and happy almost end of the school year if you are still a practicing educator. We are gonna kind of work through a couple different warm-up activities and get our brains kind of in the artful mindset. And then Mark Turner is here with us today, and he's going to walk us through his program, Dance Your Story Today, which will be really exciting and interesting, and hopefully something you can walk away with or get your brain ready to go as you go into the summer and start thinking about new and interesting things you can do, either in summer school, if that's something you're working on, or just as you're kind of like processing and reflecting and then going into the next year. We are going to be doing a lot of different participation, so please feel free to keep your microphone on and just kind of jump in and out of the conversation as it flows. If you feel more comfortable responding through the chat, like whatever makes you feel safe, I just ask that you be present with us during your time, be open to sharing your thoughts and engage in what we do. Really brief before we jump in, just a couple of housekeeping things. One thing I'd love to start with is just recognizing that the arts can be taught across the curriculum. There are several different ways in order to teach through the arts. One of those aspects is arts integration, when we teach the content and the art form in unison together. And with equal approach and evolving objective in both. But there's also other opportunities where we're just bringing in music or bringing in dance or bringing in visual art to help enhance a lesson we're teaching, and vice versa. And it's just really important to understand that there's a whole continuum of that, because really just getting students involved in the arts is a way to empower them. It empowers teachers. It helps support educational standards. It helps engage students. And I think for those of us that have truly experienced it, it just brings joy and passion to both teachers and students. And so this platform is really great because we get a chance to come together and talk about new and different ideas and share things that work. And so hopefully you walk away from this session with some new thoughts and ideas. We're going to jump right into kind of a thinking strategy here. So this one is called beginning, middle, and end. So what I'd like you to do right now is take a close look at this picture. And I want you just to kind of think about, who are the characters you see? What are they doing? What's the potential setting and how might that influence what they're doing? So just take a quiet minute of close looking. Might be able to make it a little bigger for you. All right, and when you're ready, if anybody is noticing anything in this particular image that is speaking to them, feel free to unmute and share what you're noticing.
They are definitely working class. It looks like she's kneading bread, except it's on cloth, and that's very confusing, and I have no idea where they are.
What do you see that makes you say that you think they're working class?
Their clothes and the fact that they're laboring, and their clothes place them, back a century, more than a century. Her scarf, and just work that an upper middle class woman in those days would not even do.
I'm struck by the gray I thought about it was being bread, but I see like I don't know. I have this image of it being clay, and I on the left it almost looks like 2 feet sticking out, and on the right I see I don't know. I see some kind of feet that, or I don't know. I just keep thinking, is someone working with a clay form? And I'm curious about the woman like either stretching, yawning, holding the back of her head, the bottle. I'm just drawn by uh, a lot of curiosity.
Yeah. Sarah, you mentioned the yawning and the touching the head. What do you think these figures or characters might be feeling or potentially thinking about?
Getting through with the day or the task. It looks like the one on the right. It looks like she's straining. It looks like effortful
Yeah.
force. 2 hands pushing one hand.
I see two like different approaches. One looks like they're kind of a Mary Martha and Martha kind of deal where one woman, I think maybe she's ironing. It doesn't matter. She's working really hard and doing all the work while the other woman looks like she's just like not doing any of the work and is complaining about all the work she has to do, but she's not doing anything. Like her hands are intentionally like doing nothing useful other than holding a bottle of wine
Possibly water.
and
Katie,
putting her hand on
I'm
the
not a
back of her head.
Christian.
So I see like,
Sorry.
mhm.
I'm not a Christian, so the Mary Martha thing goes right by me.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. But that no, that's fine. It's just about two sisters. One does all the work, and the other one was not doing work at the same time. So you have one woman doing all of the work, and the other one just it looks like she's not doing the work, whether it be relaxing or whatever she is up to.
So Katie, you're kind of looking at their gestures with their body position to kind of make those imprints about what they might be feeling or doing.
Yes, I would.
Great. Any other thoughts about what they might be doing, what they might be thinking about or feeling, or just anything that you're noticing in this image?
I was making some suppositions about the time of day it might be. And before Alice brought to mind that, yes, you don't need bread on a cloth per se. Typically, you want a breadboard or a flat, hard surface that isn't a cloth. I was thinking the way the artist used light and shadow, and obviously putting them in a kitchen setting with a stove. And I was drawn to the environment that they're in, and then trying to make determinations about the time of day and the purpose for the activity.
Yeah, that's
I
really
think they're
interesting.
ironing.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Oh, I just said, I think they're ironing.
What do you see that makes you say that?
Well, she's pressing down on that cloth and she could have an iron. And in the 19th century, before electric irons, you would have to have an iron heated on in a stove or something like that. And the other woman has a bottle of water, she could be sprinkling for her while she goes across the cloth, whatever it is she's ironing, maybe a shirt, a dress or something.
Yeah, interesting. So how does the setting kind of impact what we're thinking? I'm noticing the more that we're looking at it, the more you guys are drawing out like different pieces within, whether it's the stove in the background or the thing she's holding, which could potentially be an iron. How does that kind of help us navigate what potentially is happening in this image?
I just saw the stove, but otherwise, I think that this room is ambiguous because behind the woman with the kerchief, it's hard to tell if it's a dirt on the wall or like it looked almost like a corner to me, rather than a flat surface. So, I mean, otherwise, could be a laundry room with a stone table and a stove for heating water, etc. Or keeping them warm, or heating the irons more likely.
Great thinking. If you have a piece of paper close by or are able to kind of type out on on your computer in some sense, I'm going to ask 3 questions kind of in quick succession here. And I just want you to jot down the first things that kind of come to your mind. And so I'll give you just a second to get ready, and then I'm going to ask the questions. So looking closely at this image, if this work of art were the beginning of a story, what would the beginning be and what might happen next? Just jot down whatever pops into your brain. If this were the beginning, what might the beginning be and what might happen next? If this work of art were the middle of our story, what might have happened before this and what might happen after? And then lastly, if this piece of artwork was the end of our story, what might the story be? When you can, find a good stopping point for yourself. These are just kind of beginning story seeds, so you do not have to have full complete thoughts just yet. Just kind of thinking through, if it was the beginning, what might happen next? If it's the middle, what happened before and after? And if it's the end, what was the story? I'll give you 1 or 2 more minutes just to kind of wrap up those thoughts.
Actually, I just had it done yesterday. I know. Thanks, I know.
All right. For this next little part, I think it might be fun to just break out into 2 breakout rooms really quick, just to kind of allow for a little bit more of an intimate setting to discuss. But you're going to think about one of your prompts. So whether you chose the one, whether you want to elaborate on the story starter you had for your beginning, for your middle, or for your end. And as you are in this small group, you're going to share your thinking. I would love for you to listen intently to the thinking of the other people in your group. And also listen closely for something interesting that somebody else said that maybe you might want to, that has changed your thinking a little bit or might add to your story a little bit. So let me stop sharing for a second. And Phyllis, I might need you to split us up. I don't think I have access right now. Are you okay just dividing us into 2 groups? So I'll add it to the chat. You're going to share your thinking, listen to others, add something interesting. I hope you guys had some interesting conversations. Oh, let me share my screen again. About whether this could be the beginning of your story, the middle of your story, the end of your story. Would anybody like to share out maybe some of those conversations that happened in your small group?
I
Oh,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I always do this, Mark, so I don't know. Please go for it.
Okay. The basic feel of the piece was or is for many of us drudgery, that you're doing something you don't want to do and you have to get through with it.
Did anybody's storyline change after talking or sharing their thoughts or listening to other people's thoughts? I noticed in my small group, as we were kind of getting close to the end, then we kind of started adding on other characters potentially to the story that would come in later on. So it kind of helped us take that core story seed and start extending it, or where could the story go? Which that collaboration is really helpful for the next part. And we're not going to do this part, but I do want to just show you that you could set up a sheet similar to this, obviously would just have either the first line, the second line, and then I'm sure you can envision what it would look like for the third line. And students would then take these ideas that are now bouncing around in their head. They kind of quickly jotted down some ideas. They were able to talk through and listen to ideas. And now they're going to start putting it into the story grid. So if they are starting with this image as the beginning of their story, they're going to use these other two blocks to either add another image to show what the middle is and an image to show the end, or if they're more comfortable writing, they would write the middle here and write the middle or the end here. And then you can see in the second line, if it's the middle of their story, they would use these empty boxes to kind of fill the beginning and the end. So this is just a fun way to use visual art to help students kind of start building the process of writing a story or creating a story. You can choose your image very intentionally. I know there was a lot of historical context that came up as adults. We know a little bit more background knowledge about the time period, the different tools they're using, some even about the artist and his intentions. So you could choose something knowing those things and wanting to bring that stuff up. You could also just choose an image that you think is going to spark that creativity and lead into a story. And so I'm going to take this moment to pass it off to our presenter today, who's going to kind of also elaborate on stories a little bit.
Wait. Okay. So looking at what we see on our screen, which is the grid thing, one of the things that I'm fascinated with is what isn't shown. What's to the right of the painting? What would be the rest of the room, and what's to the left? So, because a picture, a snapshot, a photograph, or a painting is only part of a whole, and that winds up into the math and all of that stuff. But it's a way to extend kids' thinking past what they see.
Absolutely. That's another super interesting route to take it. I would really appreciate that.
I think it's really actually very important because of all the time the kids spend on a surface that's that big, looking at an image at that. So I think it's actually very important.
Did you give the title of this image and the creator? I missed it if you did.
I did not. Really just my intention for it was to just kind of spark some thoughts and creativity. I
Uh-huh.
actually don't know the title off the top of my head, but I will find it and put it in the chat for you. Mark, do you need to share your screen or
Yes,
kind of
I'll
stuff? Okay.
do that. And then we'll go here, share Google. I don't know which Google. And I am sharing which screen? This one? That one? Can everybody see? Is everybody seeing this one right here, Dancer Story Today? Yes, we're all there. And let's go home, and that's that. Anyway, this website is the product of inspiration from kids. And this group of kids in Seward, Alaska, I left academia and went to Alaska for a couple of years to work at a K-8 program. And there was this group of kids that just loved to dance. And I was trying to figure out how could I give them a tool that will help them create a ballet. And this is the product thereof. And at the time, it was very much project-based or personalized learning. So we're going to stop sharing. So how many of you have gone to dabble with the site, just so I know? Well, some. Okay. Well, there you go. And that's fine. We'll go back to sharing screen, wherever it is. Share. There we go. We see this. Okay. So Dancer's Story Today and is, I'll go back to here. A creative storytelling experience. Right now, it's a free account if you can log in with Google or Facebook or Clever, and then, or you can use your own. And then I'll have to go back again. Oh, I'm right there. So this is my dummy account. And I give you some things to think about here. And then when it loads, there'll be some sample things, the sample ballets that you can look at. So Three Little Pigs are there. And in the chat, I have given you some links to some on-demand professional development that goes through this extensively. So the child, let me back up because I always have to. One of the things that I love is to take children's creativity and show them just how genius they are. So I want them to take the reins and go, 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 go. So this allows kids to do that. And they're just these little text fields. They type their story. They can copy and paste from a Word document into here. And then there's music that they drag and drop. And I'll show you how that works. So we're going to create a project and then title the story, and by Dr. Mark, And then once, maybe an N. Once, maybe without that, maybe a C. Once upon, without that, whatever. A time, there was something. And something and something and something. Then, and then, and then. And so there's all these music. So this is basically what kids do anyway. They have to write a story. Then, did the music come through? Can you hear the music?
No.
We
Well,
did,
then
Mark,
I'm going to fix it, because without that, there's no reason to do anything. Okay. Let me go back to
Mark, you might have to check the little boxes at the bottom of your screen as you're preparing to share so that the sound will come through.
Okay, here it is. Test microphone, switch to phone, blah, blah, blah. Leave computer audio settings, blah, 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 blah. Okay, default, echo, adjust microphone volume. I thought it was video, audio, profile, recording.
Mark, it might not be in the settings where you are right now, but actually, as you're preparing to share screen, there are two little square check boxes at the bottom that allow you to share your.
Right. Okay, we'll start there again. Here we go. Share sound. I love it. I love it. Okay, we'll start over again. Here it is. And we'll use this. Can you hear? Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of these are about a minute to a minute and a half long. And if you've ever played piano, I've used a lot of and oh, that's what I want. There it is. And if you didn't like that version, and I know we have a music professional in our midst because I see boom whackers. Right, Katie? Katie, you're right. Okay. All of this music, are you familiar with Gordon's music learning theory?
Oh, yes, very much
This
so.
is all Edward Gordon. So it's the same thing heard 25 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
In different modes and meters and all of that. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. So, where is it? Believe it or not, this melody came from one of those little intro to classical music with the big quarter notes in it. And I just reorchestrated it. So it's just fun music. Lyadov, Russian composer. So what I give you here, and it's sort of self-explanatory, I think, and if it's not, please tell me so, that the child types in, and then the child finds the music and drags it over, and now they have a ballet. It can be 1 scene, 2 scene, 3 scenes long, because ballets are not in chapters, they're in scenes, so there's that to get over. But it's just a great little tool that doesn't have a identifiable curriculum, so you can use it however you need to use it. What are your thoughts or ideas or questions that you may have at this time?
How do you gain access to this, Mark?
You go to, it's in the chat. Where's the
Okay.
chat? Well, this is danceyourstorytoday.com. danceyourstorytoday.com. And it's, if a child is very creative and loves to move, this is a great summer activity where you're just allowing the child to make out a story, drag in the music, and then somebody's got to choreograph the thing. Somebody has to make costumes. Somebody has to make sets. Somebody has to market it. And then there needs to be a performance. And all of that can happen within a week. And then you do another one. And it's a better alternative possibly than a screen time. So that's what I see. Any other questions or ideas?
Mine is
Yes.
just an observation, Mark, in that so soon after Lauren's experience with the visual art, I found that as the different musical examples were playing, it
Mhm.
was shifting my story.
Ah,
And so as the women were begrudgingly wakening in the morning to prepare when it was in a minor key, and then when the music was more sprightly or more lighthearted, they were anticipating the day, so it
Right.
affected my story. The music affected my story, and I found that particularly intriguing.
You
right.
should plug that in for us, Mark, with Phyllis's
Which
story.
is-
Find us some music in a minor key that she was talking about. Is that possible to do that if you don't know these pieces beforehand?
Um, y- yeah,
I think the kids would just play around and click
Play
to
around and
hear.
figure it out.
yeah. And this is basically that. It's child driven, so you're not worried about trying to have an exact lesson plan. It's an experience that's authentic, and it comes out to be a ballet.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
I do have a question, and that is, it is very ballet oriented, and the illustrations on your website are professional dancers, and the women are in point shoes, et cetera, et cetera. So, how do you, I mean, the kids will just dance if they're young enough, they're pretty much will dance, but how do you account for cultural differences? How do you start from more of how can you start this from a creative movement perspective? Can you start this from a traditional dance perspective? And I feel like I would appreciate more discussion about that.
Excellent questions. Excellent questions. Obviously, this has a Western European bias. I'm a trained conservatory musician. So it has that ballet studio bias kind of thing to it. And one of the reasons I did that is because everything falls neatly into pre-prescribed forms. So it's an AABA form, which is nice and tidy for kids to move to. It's just music. And as far as cultural biases, you make a great point. I can't not say it's not there. It's there. One of the reasons I did choose it, the music to be this Western art music is, let me stop sharing my screen so you can see my face, my mug, that kids will learn music, and this has to do with this Gordon's music learning theory. Kids will learn about music by listening to it, and it's very sparse. It's not dense. So the bass line is right there, and the melody is right there, and the kid can understand melody and harmony without being told this is melody and this is harmony. So there's some underlying pedagogical things going on that you don't need to worry about that are there. And as far as Tom said, major mode or minor mode. It's all in there, and they're going to learn about it without knowing that it's major or minor. Sort of like we know what love is without knowing the word love. I hope. I'm sure. Anyway, you get the idea. And so, did that answer your question, Lisa? Oh, is it Alicia?
Alice,
Alice, sorry.
that's all right.
Block. Is it Block? There you go. There was a Professor Block at Yale University. Are you related? Okay.
Probably somewhere in the midst of time.
In the midst of time. In the
Yes.
midst of time. Okay. Yes, Sarah.
Sarah Ann, I have a question, and that is, could you play the AABA? I didn't pick that up as you were going through the samples that you were playing.
Oh, okay. I cut them off way before.
So if we had heard if someone
whole
picked,
thing. Yeah. Well, so
I got the impression you were picking lots of pieces for one story that you were dancing.
Correct. And let's go back to create. And so and some of them are not AABA in ternary form. There's that one, and then we're going to go with Tchaikovsky, and then we'll go with this one. Each one of these will have that ternary form or AABA form within it, because that's just how Tchaikovsky wrote it. So so this is A. And there's the second section. And then to repeat. So that's
Beautiful.
ABAB. Yes,
That
Tom.
That would work well with our painting.
Yes.
Although it was Katie. Has Katie left? Oh, there she is.
Still
Katie,
here.
Katie mentioned that she thought that it was a night out on the town or something. And we'll
Yeah,
go.
I thought that maybe she was ironing a shirt for her husband to go to a festival for the day.
That's not a good idea. And then you fast. Although it doesn't go with the mood of the piece. To be a festival. And there's always some clever something. Did you get that, Katie? Happy birthday. about all as long as kids need. They don't need long, long, long things.
So if you had like 3 sections to the story, does it just play continuously from part 1 all the way to the end?
Yeah, so you add all of these and then you drag things in, and when you press, I'm not sure where this went. There was a go button down here. I'll ask my developer. It just plays the whole thing from top to bottom. Let's see if it does that. That's that one, the Wild Rider.
Mhm.
So yes, when you press play, it plays the whole ballet. And I'm
And then
still working on the download so that you don't have to have a computer to work on it.
although most of our students, I know we have Chromebooks and things like that, so it wouldn't be too difficult.
No.
But what I like about this is definitely something like, as it's thank you for doing all of this footwork, because a resource like this is very valuable, in the sense that you're right. You don't need, children can't sit through a 30-minute symphony, much less a 7-minute movement. It's ideal to find things that are short, but I can see this being very useful for, I do an integration project with 2nd grade where we're doing storytelling. We try to tell stories in different ways, and
Right.
this would be perfect for it. But I could hear that you could play with it, like maybe you could, instead of doing story beginning, middle, end, you could do characters, just
Right.
like, the whole Wagner thing where each character had its own motive or its own piece of music. But then I could see it make we've done projects where the students try to create a dance or try to show it through mime or theatrically. But what I like about this is that the music could easily be cues for when the section changed, beginning, middle,
Right.
end. And then
Right.
you could go further with it, where you could have a discussion with, why did you pick this music, and go into, they didn't realize that they were choosing it because it had minor tonality or because it had low instruments and it represented this character. So I think there's just so much that could be done with this. And I think it's I'm really excited to bring this to some of my general teachers to, we've been trying to figure out a way to work in dance, and this will be a really great tool to just get us in the door, I think. And then if we want to create our own playlist that have music from different composers to, and maybe branch out to different cultures, then that would be a fun activity to do. But this will really get our feet wet in it. So thank you.
Perfect. Casey.
Hey, thank you. I didn't want to interrupt. So I had a question, I guess about like just the general logistics of it. So I'm an English language learner teacher, so I teach kids from all over the world. So I definitely understood what you guys were talking about with the cultural norms, but music is an international, universal language in and of itself. And then I teach at the high school level, and so we're always looking for ways to. We're doing those basic stories, the basic sentence and paragraph construction. So I love the product that you have. So I think I heard you mention one of them when I raised my hand. The download isn't available yet, but I'm hoping that it comes. So that's one question. And then I guess just general logistics as far as like, do the students have to log in using their school Gmail, or is that something like that I, as the instructor, can set up? And then I guess if we do have to use the kiddos' emails, we usually go through, somebody can help me out here. It sounds like COPA. I don't know if that's right, the law. So what is the protection for student identity? Because I know that the district will be kind of fuddy-duddy if it doesn't meet, just so I can do it, but can I get the kids to do it? So just kind of that technology side. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I spent the resources to integrate it with Clever, and that's a big one with an SSO. We're all familiar with SSOs.
Yeah, I don't know what Clever is.
it's a single sign-on
Yeah.
protocol where districts have all their online stuff through them. And
Okay.
that's the COPA thing.
Okay.
Yeah, not the Copacabana.
Yeah, right. Right.
And then there's Google sign-on. If there are school districts that use Google single sign-on as well. I'm working into oh, I forgot the name of it, but there's another one or two that I'm working on. I realize that that's an issue, so I'm moving toward that direction.
Casey, I would say too, maybe share it with your IT at your school as well, and just see if they notice anything that isn't right. And then I'm sure Mark would be open if you emailed him just for
Yes,
feedback. So he's aware of other glitches that might stop students from.
Yeah. Yeah, I can do whatever I want. So like I could see, especially with like, let's say the newcomer level, I could see myself putting this on the screen and then we do it together. But with the more advanced kids that want to do it themselves, I can't authorize that without, like you said, running through the district first. So I didn't know if there had been any like vetting process yet, but yeah, usually they just have to check it out.
yes, it has been vetted,
Okay.
for
Great.
lack of better words,
Right.
through Clever. So
Okay. Okay.
So Clever has signed off, and there's all of the legal notices there, and there's all
Gotcha.
the terms of use and privacy, and all of that has gone through them. So that's one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't do it all, but I'm trying to as much as I can.
And,
Yeah.
and
I'm sure
Clever
they
is
know
a
what Clever is,
recognized,
even if I don't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
I was just going to say Clever is an industry standard, and
Mhm.
your IT will have heard of it, even if they
Yeah.
don't subscribe to that particular service.
Yes, that's I think we had the same thought at the same time. Yeah, that's kind of, I'm like, I don't know what it is, but they probably do. So yeah. All right. Thank you.
And I don't want to take up too much time, any more time than I already have. Phyllis or someone was talking about using music to create a story. And if I go back to here and go back to home, using music to create stories. So I give you sort of an outline of what you can do. So you can read this for yourself. So there's a noun, who was warm, what caused this person to be warm. And it all came from whatever piece of music that was. And I'll go home. And it's this is the example, I thought. And I'll stop it there, even though I don't want to. I hope you can hear the sounds that are coming out of your speaker are really good sounds. I spent the money to make sure that it was the best that the industry has. So what they're going to come up with is something that could go on Spotify. Here's another one, beginning the creative process. You can do this with a kindergarten class. And where's the one that, create your first ballet. So I go through creating your first ballet, use a story that you already know, start from the known and go to the unknown, from the familiar to the unfamiliar. And then I always say, save your work, save your work, save your work, save your work, save your work. So I give you some scaffolding, or I give the kids some scaffolding so that they can take this and run so that you're not running in circles. And that's the whole point of this. Any other questions that you may or
Mark, we have about 1 minute left, and so I want to respect everybody's time. But there is a question. Do you have any videos of students going through this process?
not as yet?
Okay.
Not as yet. Not as yet.
And
So
I will make sure to link this in the follow-up email I send everybody that's attended today. I'll be sure to repost the website so you can keep exploring and playing. There's like 15 different ideas going through my mind, so hopefully you guys are also feeling excited about the potential of having this resource. And I'm going to drop in the chat a survey for today's session, just to give us some feedback. This is our last main session for summer break, and so we will be back on August 28th for a jazz storytelling session. So I just really hope that you guys have a wonderful, relaxing break and have some fun time at the beach, maybe, hopefully, like the picture. If you could just give us some feedback on the session, we'd really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for being here. Mark, thank you for sharing your expertise and your resources with us. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks.